you.
Now you guys got to, thank you for Monica. She'll be here.
Thank you.
Okay, so you've tried the food, right? So could y'all tell what was what, right? So the cream potato soup, obviously, right? You tried the fiesta chili lime dip. So the little half a loaf of bread, did you try that one? That's what's called, I can't believe it's not wheat bread. And when you try it, first you're kind of like, look, it's like wheat bread, right? It's super yummy. That's one of our favorites. Now, again, the keys to baking, okay? Here's what it is. Keep it warm. And I'll tell you, every time somebody comes in and says, well, I couldn't get this to perform, you just have to go through the instructions. And you know how, when you get a prescription or you get something at the store, we're not used to reading instructions anymore, right? We kind of, we just kind of fly by it. But like the pastas, you cook them exactly what it says, 6 to 8 minutes. With pastas you're used to, like a wheat pasta or whatever, white pasta, rich pasta, those are like 10 to 12 minutes. And instinctively we try to go back to what we did. Does that make sense? So my job here is to kind of retrain you a little bit so that it is all successful for you, because we really try to make every mix super easy so that I call it so my husband could do it, okay? And I don't mean that any mean to any of the guys, but I'm just saying he doesn't cook as much as I do, right? So I want him to be able to do it if he needs to. So let's go through that. Now back to what Monica was talking about. When we talked about celiac disease, I totally agree that some people, they may not have celiac, but they maybe have an allergy or an intolerance. Okay, so the cinnamon rolls are coming out. This has the caramel sauce on it. And I have a question for you guys too here in just a second. Okay, the degradation of our food source, right? Our food has gotten what I will call bigger, faster, cheaper, okay, but it hasn't been better for our bodies. So the little villi that she talks about, think of them like this. When we're healthy, they go like this. They are little tentacles in your tummy and they process food. That is their job. That's their whole job, okay? When we eat gluten, they go like this, okay? So they don't do, there are two main jobs. One job is just to process food, okay? So we can go to the bathroom and be normal, right? The other job is to absorb nutrients. They have little tentacles on the end of them. Their job is to make us healthy. Their job is to get vitamins to our whole entire body. When those become dormant, both of those jobs don't work, right? So we start to having tummy issues. A lot of people get topical issues on their skin. Cognitive issues are probably the very next. People will get any type of inflammation. It can be arthritis in any area of your body. Could be high cholesterol, could be high blood pressure, could be brain fog, could be vision problems. Any of those things are gluten derived, right? And let me just back it up a bit. As she said, back in the 1950s, 60s, they changed it, and they continue to change it. Monsanto, in any given year, their objective, and I'm not lobbying against Monsanto, I'm just giving an example. Every year, they take about 1,400 different grains, and they crossbreed them, right? And they're testing how can we increase yields? How can we reduce water that's needed? How can we make it grow faster, right? There's all these tests that are done. None of them are tested on the body. And our ability to assimilate them, absorb it, or get the nutrients from it, right? So it's totally, it doesn't help us. It may help, I'll call it to prevent starvation, right? That's the objective. Hi, come on in. You're fine. But that's kind of the issue, okay? So as we talk about gluten, I teach another class. It's called New to Gluten Free for those of you that are into it. We go back and forth every month, right? So 1 month we do baking, 1 month we do New to Gluten Free. When I go through New to Gluten Free, I'll go through all the meats, cheeses, and dairies and things like that, just to watch in the stores so that you know you don't get any malic acid, any maltodextrin, any MSG, any of those other things. Does that make sense? So that's important. You do want to watch like your maple syrups. You want to watch your soy sauce. You want to watch your sodas. All of those contain caramel color or derivatives of gluten. Okay, so I'll go through that in greater detail in that class. One of the biggest things when you go gluten-free, like I said, people think it's going to be hard. It's going to be all these things. And okay, so they rose. Yay! So this is sorry, sorry, I would have dropped it. So this is what they look like when they come out of the oven. Okay, she's barely got it out. Do some caramel sauce though too. Okay, just come pour some caramel sauce on, and then they can eat some of this fresh out of the oven. This is the batch we did just earlier today. You kind of got to know there's 4 keys to eating gluten-free, okay? And and the number one is being prepared, okay? You can no longer run through the drive-thrus or run through McDonald's or run and get a pizza and run and get those things. It's all about preparation. So that's what we talk about. We talk about, okay, so why do we need cream of chicken soup, right? All we do is we put it in a crock pot with some chicken and mix some potatoes and some corn, right? It's a meal. Why do we need like a chicken noodle soup? Well, people need to just have chicken noodle soup and a roll, or beef stroganoff, or be able to cook a pizza, right? It's kind of just, it's cooking like mom did, and I can't emphasize that enough. People all the time will walk in and say, well, I just want this, right? Well, the reason we don't do a lot of baking here that we sell is we want to avoid all preservatives. We want to avoid all MSGs. It's back to baking like mom did, right? So that's why we offer this baking class. Is we know that sometimes it can kind of be hard, you know, it's like, oh my gosh, I haven't baked a loaf of bread in forever. Well, it's important to do so because it's healthier for our bodies, okay? And so I often say, ease into it. We have what's called new to gluten-free. New to gluten-free gives you 17 different products. So it's like, here's a bread, here's a cinnamon roll, here's a pancake. It's basically like this basket right here. It gives you your core cream of soups, gives you your seasonings, some type of cakes, your bouillons. It's kind of like everything like, oh, okay, I can start for the first week, right? Ease into it. You don't have to worry about getting everything. That's not the point. The point is, where do I start, right? Like, and you gotta eliminate your bouillons, things that your cream of soups, things that traditionally would have gluten in them, okay? Monica also talked about autism, ADD, ADHD. There's so many kids that come in and their moms have said, they're just reacting all the time. Somebody said, well, don't give them gluten, right? They do new to gluten-free or the gluten-free all-month pack. And the mom always comes back and says they're doing better in school. Look at how much better they look in the face. They're more relaxed and all that. All those things coming at them has been muted a little bit. And the reason for that is when you eat that wheat that has been crossbred and changed and everything that's been done to it, right? Our bodies get it, and our bodies basically say, what do I do with it? I don't know what to do with it. I don't know what to do with it, right? And we go into that stimulation mode. So we do a couple things. Number one, we store it, right? Like bears and chipmunks, we store it and have the wheat belly, or we store it back here. But our bodies don't even know what to do with it, and that's the same with the kids, so they just react, right? And they don't feel satisfied. Now, we didn't give you a ton of food, but you probably feel satisfied, right? But how often have you sat down and like had 3 bowls of chili, 3 bowls of soup, and right? Our grains are all ancient grains. So what you're getting, your body says, oh, I know what to do with that. That feels so good, right? And so you're satisfied. You don't have that angst of, where's my next Snickers, right? Where's my next food? And you can feel like your body's getting the nutrients that it needs. That makes sense? Real quick, when I say the key is preparation, that's why we have these things, right? So if you're kind of new to Mom's Place, you'll notice that we have breads over here. You guys tried the breadsticks. Can't believe it's not wheat bread. We experimented a little bit today. So the lemon that was on your plate, it's kind of our lemon squares, but it's kind of like a lemon cheesecake. We had some things. Just wanted you guys to try it, see what you think. If you liked it, tell us. If you didn't, tell us. It's going to be great. Every month we try to make sure that it's affordable for people. So this month we have 5 family meals for under $50, right? So you can have flour make enchiladas or sloppy joes and hamburger buns, beef stroganoff, breadsticks and spaghetti, Tuscany bread with tomato soup, so grilled cheese and tomato soup, right? So you get 5 meals for your family. The cinnamon swirl buns we talked about, I make these almost every weekend, and then I freeze them, right? Because our grains have not been processed to the point that, you know, if you just went and bought a loaf of bread at the store, not gluten-free, put it in your freezer, it gets wet and sweaty and gross, right? That's because they have processed that so much. There's a lot of water in the molecules of that wheat, but there's not with our grains. So it's not gonna get wet and sweaty, it's gonna stay good. So I'll make the waffles and the cinnamon rolls and just freeze them so I can always grab and go, because it's all about preparation, okay? That is a huge secret. You don't have to make waffles every morning. You don't have to make muffins every morning. Just do a little bit of prep on the weekends, right? I do that with dinners to lunches, right? The muffins, same thing. The blueberry muffins or the poppy seed muffins, you can always freeze them. To find gluten-free donuts is not an easy thing. So if any of you are serving, I'll call it the kid population or the grandkid population, The kids love the donuts because when a child is gluten-free, they feel limited, right? They get a little mad. We all kind of do, right? We all go through the stages of grief is what I'm gonna call it. You're kind of mad, you're kind of in denial, and then you feel so crappy, you'll be like, fine, I'm going to do this, right? I'm gonna commit to it. You guys are all laughing because you've done this. But the donuts, it gives the child, it's like, I get to do this and nobody else does, right? It makes them special versus limited. It's a huge shift for them. I can't explain it, but this is a big thing and we love the kids that we serve. To find like red velvet or carrot cake or lemon squares or good cookies is not an easy thing. So that's why we try to give, I'll call it the breadth and the depth necessary in the gluten-free world. So you guys wanted to learn about how to make the perfect breads, okay? So the keys is keep it warm, right? Let your yeast rise a little bit. Make sure your eggs are room temperature. Make sure your butter is warm like it says. But you gotta keep everything warm. Sometimes I'll even put the bowl in the oven while the oven's heating while I'm kind of getting everything ready. Just warm, warm, warm. That is the whole key, yeah.
So then can we just take some eggs and let them sit out with half of
Yep, eggs can be room temperature, it doesn't matter. There is no salmonella egg issue, most eggs are, it doesn't matter. I didn't know that for a long, long time, but eggs can just be room temperature. So we talked about baking, we talked about a poor flour, okay, cross-contamination. I'll say two things. One is that your cross-contamination at home, so we do use separate toasters because my sensitivity level is super high, right? But it does depend on your parts per million sensitivity. And all I would say is you have to just experiment a little bit, right? Keep your things separate. I love the spring forms because you can do cinnamon rolls and hamburger buns and everything's always separate, right? You don't have to be to the paranoid point. I would say to the cautious point first, right? And see how you feel. It's all kind of, a little bit of give and take. And Dr. Berger, if you have a different opinion, interject, please.
That's exactly right.
What I would say at restaurants is, so a few good restaurants that have some good gluten-free options, okay? Red Robin has a really good hamburger. You get a hamburger bun there. It's basically like our hamburger bun. It's really good. I would always say consume at your own risk, okay? Johnny Carino's has one of the best disclaimers on there. It'll say, it says something to the effect of, we go to every extent we can to make sure cross-contamination doesn't happen. However, this is made in a kitchen where other things are made, so consume at your own risk. And they're basically saying, we want